Commander Jake Morrison floated in the observation deck of Beacon 7, watching the stars through the massive viewport. The Deep Space Monitoring Station orbited beyond Pluto, serving as humanity's early warning system for anything approaching from the outer darkness. Jake had been stationed here for 3 years, and the routine had become second nature. Every day brought the same peaceful emptiness of space, broken only by the occasional meteor or distant supernova. Earth in 2087 was thriving like never before. The colonies on Mars housed 2 million people, and the mining stations around Jupiter's moons provided endless resources. Humanity had finally learned to work together, putting aside old conflicts to reach for the stars. Jake often thought about his daughter Emma, who was studying engineering on Mars Colony Prime. She would graduate next year and join the exploration fleet. "Sir, we're picking up something unusual," called Lieutenant Lisa Brooks from her station. Jake pushed off from the viewport and glided over to her console. The screens showed energy readings that made no sense. Whatever was out there was massive and moving faster than anything humanity had ever built. "How far out?" Jake asked, studying the data streams. 14 astronomical units and closing. "Sir, these readings are off the charts. The energy signature suggests something at least 50 kilometers long." Lisa's voice carried a mix of excitement and concern. First contact protocols existed, but everyone assumed humanity would be the ones doing the discovering. Jake activated the station's emergency broadcast system. Within minutes, every human outpost from Earth to the Titan colonies would know something was coming. Admiral Ryan Carter's voice crackled through the communications array from Earth Defense Command. "Beacon 7, this is Control. Confirm your readings." "Confirmed, Admiral. Multiple large objects approaching from the Vega system. Estimated arrival at Earth in 72 hours at current speed." Jake's training kept his voice steady, but his hands trembled slightly as he worked the controls. Captain Lisa Brooks, Jake's second in command, began preparing the first contact packages. Humanity had spent decades planning for this moment. Mathematical sequences, star charts, peaceful greetings in every human language, and artistic representations of Earth's cultures. Everything designed to show that humans were intelligent, peaceful beings ready to join a galactic community. The objects continued their approach, and more details became clear. The ships, if they were ships, defied human understanding of engineering. They appeared to be grown rather than built, with organic curves that pulsed with internal light. Biomechanical structures stretched for kilometers, covered in what looked like living tissue. Advanced sensors revealed internal spaces that shifted and changed as they watched. Dr. Amanda Cole arrived on the emergency transport from Earth's Xenobiology Institute. She had studied theoretical alien life for 20 years, but seeing the actual readings left her speechless. These beings had mastered biotechnology beyond human imagination. Their ships were alive, powered by processes that bent the laws of physics. "They're beautiful," Amanda whispered, studying the imaging data. "Look at how the hull material responds to stellar radiation. It's not just alive, it's intelligent. The entire ship might be a single organism." Jake wasn't sure beautiful was the right word. Something about the ships felt wrong, predatory. They moved with purpose, ignoring all human attempts at communication. The peaceful first contact scenarios everyone had imagined assumed the aliens would want to talk. Earth's defense fleet scrambled to meet the approaching vessels. Admiral Carter commanded from the flagship UES Defender, humanity's most advanced warship. The crew of 2,000 represented the best of human military technology. Fusion drives, particle beam weapons, and quantum torpedoes that could crack a moon in half. The alien fleet emerged from hyperspace just beyond Earth's moon. 27 massive vessels that dwarfed anything in human space. The lead ship alone stretched 30 kilometers from bow to stern, its biomechanical hull rippling with bioluminescent patterns. Smaller craft, each still larger than the biggest human battleship, flanked the formation like predatory fish. Captain Brooks opened all communication channels, broadcasting humanity's prepared first contact messages. Mathematical sequences pulsed through space in radio, laser, and quantum transmissions. The messages included Earth's location, basic information about human biology, and expressions of peaceful intent. The response came without warning. The lead alien vessel's hull split open, revealing an organic cannon that glowed with contained energy. The plasma lance that emerged moved faster than human reflexes could track. The UES Defender, with its crew of 2,000, simply vanished. No explosion, no debris field, just empty space where humanity's flagship had been moments before. Silence filled the communication channels. Then Admiral Carter's backup command ship opened fire with everything it had. Particle beams and quantum torpedoes struck the alien hull and dissipated harmlessly. The biomechanical surface absorbed the energy like water soaking into sand. The alien fleet spread out above Earth's atmosphere. Each ship positioned itself over a major population center. Jake watched in horror from Beacon 7 as the systematic bombardment began. New York City vanished first, replaced by a crater of fused glass that glowed with residual heat. London, Tokyo, Mumbai, and Sydney followed within minutes. The aliens fired methodically, precisely. Each shot eliminated a city and its population without damaging the surrounding countryside. They weren't destroying Earth randomly. They were harvesting it, removing human civilization with surgical precision while preserving the planet's resources. Dr. Cole analyzed the attack patterns with growing dread. "They've done this before," she told Jake as they watched Earth's major cities disappear one by one. "Look at the precision, the efficiency. This isn't their first planetary cleansing. Human defense fleets threw themselves against the alien ships in desperate fury. Brave pilots rammed their fighters into alien hulls, hoping to find weak points. Ground-based weapons fired uselessly into the sky. Nothing penetrated the biomechanical defenses. The aliens continued their work with mechanical indifference, treating human resistance like insects buzzing around their heads. Within 6 hours, human civilization's greatest achievements lay in ruins. The orbital stations fell next, their population screaming final messages to loved ones before the plasma lances found them. Mars Colony Prime went silent as alien ships appeared throughout the solar system. Jake Morrison stood alone on Beacon 7, the last human outpost, still broadcasting. The aliens hadn't noticed them yet, focused on larger targets. He recorded final messages for anyone who might survive, for anyone who might someday learn what happened to humanity. This is Commander Jake Morrison of Deep Space Monitoring Station, Beacon 7. The date is November 15, 2087. First, contact with an alien species has occurred. They are hostile. Earth's major cities have been destroyed. Military resistance has failed. To anyone receiving this transmission, the enemy is technologically superior beyond our ability to comprehend. They appear to view us as pests to be eliminated. Humanity's golden age has ended. God help us all. 3 months after the bombardment, Earth looked like a different planet. The massive alien processing facilities stretched across continents, their biomechanical towers reaching into the clouds. Danny Walsh crouched in the ruins of what used to be Chicago, watching harvester drones patrol the streets. The former Marine sergeant had seen combat in the water wars, but nothing had prepared him for this. The aliens, which the survivors called the hegemony, had established collection zones around every major population center. Humans were herded into massive compounds where the biomechanical processors sorted them by age, health, and genetic markers. Nobody knew what happened to the people who disappeared into the alien facilities, but the screams that echoed from inside told enough of the story. Kate Phillips adjusted her homemade scanner and whispered to Danny. "Patrol drone coming from the west. 3 biomechanical soldiers behind it." The former civil engineer had learned to read alien technology patterns the hard way. Her husband and 2 children had been taken in the first week. She fought now with the cold fury of someone who had nothing left to lose. The hegemony soldiers moved through the rubble with fluid grace. Each stood 3 meters tall, their biomechanical bodies shifting between organic tissue and metallic components as needed. They could regenerate from wounds that would kill a human instantly, and their weapons fired concentrated energy that turned people to ash. Danny signaled to his team of 12 resistance fighters hiding in the subway tunnels. They had been planning this ambush for weeks. The harvester drone carried power cells that could keep their hidden base running for months. Getting those cells meant everything for the 300 survivors hiding in the underground complex. The attack lasted 30 seconds. Human weapons, even military-grade rifles, barely scratched the alien soldiers. But Danny's team had learned to work together. While half the fighters drew attention with frontal assault, the others flanked and used explosive charges to disable the harvester drone. The biomechanical soldiers killed 6 humans before withdrawing, but the resistance got the power cells. Colonel Steve Parker commanded the last human military unit still fighting in North America. His base, hidden in the Rocky Mountain caves, housed 2,000 soldiers and civilians. Steve had watched helplessly as the aliens picked off every other military installation. The hegemony seemed to know exactly where humans gathered in large numbers. "Sir, we're getting reports from the European cells," reported Lieutenant Emma Scott, one of the few pilots whose aircraft had survived the initial attack. "The aliens have something big under construction beneath the Atlantic Ocean." Deep-sea monitoring stations detected massive energy readings at the mid-ocean ridge. Steve studied the intelligence reports. The resistance network had grown from scattered survivors into a global organization, but they still knew almost nothing about alien plans. Every day brought news of another human settlement destroyed, another group of survivors captured and processed. Dr. Richard Stone worked in a hidden laboratory carved from solid rock. Before the invasion, he had been Earth's leading expert on harmonic frequencies. Now he studied fragments of alien technology, trying to understand how their biomechanical systems functioned. His equipment was crude compared to what he'd had at the university, but desperation made him creative. "The cellular structures respond to specific frequencies," he explained to Colonel Parker during one of their secure video calls. "Their biomechanical nature requires constant harmonic adjustment to maintain stability. If we could generate the right dissonance pattern, we might be able to disrupt their systems." The problem was power. The frequency generators needed more energy than the resistance could produce with their scavenged equipment. Before the invasion, such power levels would have been easy to achieve. Now, with most of Earth's infrastructure destroyed, it seemed impossible. Maria Gonzalez led the Miami resistance cell from the flooded ruins of the city. The rising sea levels from climate change had helped humans hide in the underwater sections where alien drones couldn't easily patrol. Her team specialized in underwater demolition, striking at alien supply convoys that crossed the flooded areas. "The biomechanical ships need specific minerals from Earth's crust," Maria reported to the Global Resistance Network. "We've identified patterns in their harvesting operations. They're not just taking people. They're strip mining the planet for exotic elements." The Resistance had learned to communicate through quantum-encrypted channels that the aliens couldn't intercept. Human ingenuity had found ways to hide messages in cosmic background radiation and solar flare patterns. The network now spanned every continent, coordinating attacks and sharing intelligence. Chris Johnson ran intelligence operations from a base built inside an abandoned mine shaft. His team of former government agents had developed techniques for gathering information about alien activities. They learned that the hegemony had done this before, leaving entire star systems stripped of life and resources. "The archaeological evidence is clear," Chris told the Resistance leadership during a secure conference. "We've found debris from at least 12 different civilizations in their waste dumps. Species that probably fought just as hard as we are. The aliens have been doing this for thousands of years." Dr. Julia Martinez had been Earth's top biotechnology researcher before the invasion. Now she worked with alien tissue samples in a laboratory, hidden beneath the ruins of Mexico City. Her discoveries about hegemony biology gave the Resistance their first real hope. "They're not individual creatures," she explained in her reports. "The entire species operates as a networked collective consciousness. Each soldier, each ship, each piece of technology is connected through bioneural links." It's their greatest strength, but it might also be their greatest weakness. The underground war continued for months. Human resistance cells struck at alien patrols, sabotaged processing facilities, and rescued survivors from the collection zones. But for every small victory, the aliens responded with overwhelming force. Entire city blocks would be sterilized if a single drone was destroyed. Alex Rodriguez worked day and night in his hidden workshop, trying to reverse engineer captured alien weapons. The former aerospace engineer had learned to combine human electronics with alien biotechnology. His hybrid weapons were crude and unreliable, but they could actually damage hegemony forces. "The key is disrupting their bioneural connections," Alex explained to other resistance engineers. "Human technology alone can't penetrate their defenses. But if we can interfere with their organic components, we can create weaknesses." The Resistance celebrated every small victory while watching their species slowly disappear. The global human population had dropped from 8 billion to less than 50 million in just 3 months. Most survivors lived in hidden camps, emerging only for desperate raids on alien facilities. Commander Beth Anderson coordinated global resistance operations from a base built inside an extinct volcano. The former naval officer had watched her fleet die in the first hours of the invasion, but she refused to surrender. Her tactical brilliance kept the resistance alive when conventional military thinking would have meant extinction. "We're fighting for time," she told her officers. "Every day we survive is another day our scientists work on solutions. Every alien drone we destroy forces them to build replacements. We can't win through conventional warfare, but we might find another way." The aliens began construction of their massive Atlantic facility during the second month of occupation. Satellite imagery showed a structure growing from the ocean floor, reaching toward the surface with organic tendrils that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. Whatever they were building would be completed soon, and every intelligence report suggested it would mean the end of human resistance forever. 2 years into the occupation, the human resistance had evolved into something the aliens hadn't expected. Commander Beth Anderson stood in the Central Command bunker carved deep within the Appalachian Mountains, coordinating operations across 6 continents. The facility housed 3,000 survivors and served as the nerve center for humanity's underground war. The command center buzzed with constant activity. Former military officers worked alongside civilian engineers, teachers and students who had learned guerrilla warfare through necessity. Children born after the invasion grew up knowing nothing but life in hidden bunkers. But they learned to fight with the same determination as their parents. Alex Rodriguez had become the Resistance's chief weapons designer. His workshop occupied an entire level of the mountain complex, filled with hybrid technology that combined human engineering with scavenged alien components. The devices he created were ugly and dangerous, but they worked. "The new plasma disruptors are ready for field testing," Alex reported to Beth during the morning briefing. "We've managed to reverse engineer enough of their bio-neural interfaces to create weapons that can actually penetrate their shields. The power requirements are massive, but we can get maybe 20 shots before the systems overload." Emma Scott had become one of the Resistance's most skilled pilots. She flew aircraft built from salvaged parts and alien technology, leading airstrikes against hegemony convoys that crossed the devastated landscape. Her fighter looked like nothing humanity had ever built before, with organic curves that mimicked alien design principles. "The supply run to the Australian cells succeeded," Emma reported, "but we lost 2 aircraft to their new hunter-killer drones. The aliens are adapting faster than we anticipated. They're learning from our tactics." The global resistance network had grown beyond anything the hegemony had encountered in their previous conquests. Human ingenuity had found ways to communicate and coordinate that their collective consciousness couldn't predict. Resistance cells operated independently, but shared intelligence through quantum encrypted channels hidden in background. Radiation, Chris Johnson's intelligence network, had infiltrated alien facilities across the planet. His agents, many of them former spies and military personnel, moved through the ruins gathering information about hegemony operations. They had learned to disguise themselves as processed humans, moving freely through alien-controlled zones. "The Atlantic facility is nearing completion," Chris briefed the command staff. "Our deep-cover agents confirm it's a planetary processing station. Once operational, it will strip-mine Earth's core for exotic matter. The planet will become uninhabitable within 6 months of activation." Dr. Julia Martinez had made breakthrough discoveries about alien biology. Her research team worked with live specimens captured during resistance raids, learning how the hegemony's collective consciousness functioned. The knowledge was horrifying but potentially useful. Each individual organism is connected to the collective through bio-neural implants, Julia explained to the assembled scientists and military leaders. They share memories, experiences, and tactical information instantly across their entire species. But the network has limitations. Severe trauma or harmonic disruption can cause temporary disconnection. The Resistance had learned to exploit these weaknesses. Coordinated attacks using harmonic weapons could temporarily isolate alien units from their collective support. The effects lasted only minutes, but skilled human fighters could accomplish a lot in those brief windows of alien confusion. Dr. Peter Hayes led the Resistance's attempt to understand alien technology well enough to use it against them. His team had established hidden research facilities in 12 locations worldwide, each working on different aspects of hegemony science. The work was dangerous because alien technology was partially alive and resented being studied. We've identified the primary control frequencies for their biomechanical systems, Peter reported during a secure video conference. The problem is generating enough power to affect their larger installations. We'd need the output of a fusion reactor to create significant disruption, and we simply don't have those resources. Tim Rodriguez commanded the resistance cell operating in the ruins of Los Angeles. His team had specialized in urban warfare, using the collapsed buildings and flooded districts to launch hit-and-run attacks on alien patrols. They had learned to move through the city like ghosts, striking without warning and disappearing before the hegemony could respond. The aliens are building something new in the harbor, Tim reported to Central Command. Massive biomechanical structures rising from the ocean floor. Our sensors can't penetrate them, but the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever they're planning, it's connected to the Atlantic facility. The Resistance had also learned to use the aliens' own technology against them. Captured biomechanical components could be reprogrammed with human neural interfaces, creating hybrid systems that confused hegemony sensors. Resistance fighters wearing alien camouflage could move undetected through occupied zones. Nancy Powell had been a software engineer before the invasion. Now she worked on hacking alien computer systems, trying to understand how their biomechanical minds processed information. Her discoveries had led to new forms of electronic warfare that could temporarily disable alien equipment. Their consciousness operates on quantum frequencies, Nancy explained to the technical team. Each mind is like a node in a vast network. We can't break the connections permanently, but we can introduce enough static to cause system failures. The effect cascades through local networks, creating windows of opportunity. The underground war had become a complex dance of move and counter-move. The aliens adapted to human tactics, but humans adapted faster. Every hegemony response created new opportunities for exploitation. The Resistance learned to think like a collective while maintaining individual initiative. Captain Joe Murphy commanded the Resistance's small fleet of hybrid spacecraft. His ships were built from alien hulls powered by human fusion reactors, creating vessels that looked alien but thought human. They conducted deep space raids on hegemony supply lines, striking at resource convoys traveling between Earth and the outer system. We intercepted communications between their command ships, Joe reported during a fleet briefing. They're calling for reinforcements from their home system. The Resistance has lasted longer than they expected, and they're having trouble maintaining control with current force levels. Linda Chen had become the Resistance's expert on alien psychology. Her team studied captured hegemony personnel, trying to understand how their collective consciousness made decisions. The knowledge helped predict alien responses to human attacks and identify weaknesses in their tactical thinking. They view individual initiative as a form of mental illness, Linda explained to the command staff. Their entire civilization is built on collective decision-making. They literally cannot understand how we coordinate complex operations without shared consciousness. It's why they keep underestimating our capabilities. Sophie Clark led the Resistance's scientific efforts to weaponize human creativity against alien predictability. Her teams developed new forms of warfare that exploited the hegemony's inability to think like individuals. Chaos tactics, random targeting, and unpredictable timing created constant problems for the collective mind. We've learned to be incomprehensible, Sophie reported with grim satisfaction. Every time they adapt to our tactics, we change to something completely different. Their collective consciousness is designed for efficiency and predictability. Random human behavior breaks their decision-making processes. The Resistance had also learned to use Earth's own environment as a weapon. Climate change and ecological damage from the initial bombardment created unpredictable weather patterns that confused alien sensors. Resistance fighters moved through radioactive storms and toxic fog that human equipment could handle, better than alien biomechanics. Grace Turner coordinated supply operations for the global Resistance network. Her teams had learned to manufacture weapons and equipment using materials the aliens considered worthless. Human industrial capacity had been rebuilt in hidden factories that produced hybrid technology specifically designed to kill hegemony forces. Production is up 40% this quarter, Grace reported to the logistics meeting. We're manufacturing enough hybrid weapons to equip every Resistance cell worldwide. The aliens still don't understand our manufacturing methods, so they can't effectively target our production facilities. As the second year of occupation ended, both sides prepared for a final confrontation. The aliens rushed to complete their planetary processing station, while the Resistance gathered every resource for one last, desperate gamble. The underground war had taught humans to fight like nothing in the galaxy's history, but time was running out for Earth itself. General Sam Davis emerged from hiding after 2 years of coordinating resistance operations from deep underground bunkers. The former Pentagon chief had watched Earth's military forces die in the first hours of the invasion, but he had never stopped planning for this moment. Operation Phoenix would be humanity's final gambit, a desperate plan that would either save the species or ensure its complete destruction. The plan was audacious beyond all military precedent. Every remaining nuclear weapon on Earth would be detonated simultaneously to create an electromagnetic pulse powerful enough to disrupt the aliens' bioneural networks globally. The technical challenges were staggering, but humanity had learned to achieve impossible things through desperate innovation. Dr. Peter Hayes had calculated the energy requirements down to the last joule. The fusion reactors powering the alien processing facilities would amplify the electromagnetic effect if the detonations occurred at precise locations and frequencies, but the timing had to be perfect across all continents, synchronized to the millisecond. "We get one chance at this," Peter explained to the assembled resistance leaders. "The pulse has to originate from inside their primary facility to achieve global coverage. Someone has to get nuclear devices into the Atlantic processing station and detonate them while the surface strikes occur. Simultaneously, Nick Thompson commanded the air wing tasked with securing nuclear facilities across North America. His pilots flew hybrid aircraft that looked alien but carried human weapon systems. The mission required striking 12 heavily defended sites within a 4-hour window, while avoiding the hegemony's orbital defense platforms. "The alien air patrols have tripled in the last month," Nick reported during the final briefing. "They know we're planning something big. We'll face everything they have, but the nuclear facilities must be secured. Without those warheads, the pulse won't have enough power to affect their larger installations." Maria Gonzalez had spent months preparing the nuclear weapons for simultaneous detonation. The former demolitions expert had learned to interface human nuclear technology with alien biomechanical systems, creating hybrid devices that could penetrate hegemony defenses. Each weapon had been modified to produce maximum electromagnetic output, rather than explosive force. "The devices will function for exactly 90 minutes after activation," Maria explained to the strike teams. "After that, the alien biomechanical components will reject the human technology and the weapons will become inert. We have one narrow window to execute the entire operation." Captain Troy Miller led the ground forces responsible for creating diversions that would draw alien attention away from the real targets. His teams would launch coordinated attacks on processing facilities worldwide, making the nuclear strikes look like just another series of resistance raids until it was too late for the hegemony to respond. "We're expendable," Troy told his battalion commanders with characteristic bluntness. "Our job is to die loudly while the real mission proceeds quietly. Every alien unit chasing us is one less defending the targets that matter. Make them count every casualty." The Resistance had identified volunteers for the suicide mission to the Atlantic processing station. Linda Chen would lead the infiltration team, carrying portable fusion devices into the depths of the alien facility. Her team consisted of 12 specialists who had trained for months and captured alien biomechanical systems. The facility extends 30 kilometers below the ocean surface. Linda briefed her team during their final preparation session. "We'll have to fight through organic corridors that can think and respond to our presence. The structure itself is alive and hostile to human biology. Radiation suits won't protect us from everything we'll encounter." The mission began at dawn on March 15, 2090. Resistance cells worldwide launched simultaneous attacks on alien installations, creating chaos across all continents. The hegemony responded with overwhelming force exactly as planned. Their collective consciousness focused on suppressing the global uprising, while the real mission proceeded undetected. Nick Thompson's air wing struck the first nuclear facility in Colorado, fighting through waves of alien interceptors to secure the warheads. His pilots died in their aircraft, ramming alien fighters when their weapons failed, buying precious minutes for the ground teams to extract the nuclear devices. Maria's demolition teams worked frantically to prepare the weapons, while alien forces closed in on their positions. The biomechanical components required constant adjustment as they interfaced with human nuclear technology. Several devices failed during preparation, reducing the total electromagnetic output below optimal levels. "We're losing too many warheads," Maria reported to command during the operation. "The alien components are rejecting human nuclear physics faster than anticipated. The pulse might not achieve global coverage." Dr. Hayes made real-time calculations as reports flooded in from strike teams worldwide. The reduced nuclear yield meant the electromagnetic pulse would need amplification from the alien facility itself. The fusion devices carried by Linda's team became even more critical to the mission's success. Troy Miller's diversionary attacks succeeded beyond expectations. Alien forces responded to the global uprising with massive retaliation, stripping defenses from critical installations to suppress the human rebels. But the cost was terrible. Entire resistance cells died to the last person, buying time with their lives. Linda Chen's team penetrated the Atlantic facility through an underwater access port that intelligence had identified months earlier. The organic corridors writhed around them like living tissue, responding to their presence with biomechanical defense systems that attacked human nervous systems directly. "The structure is fighting us," Linda reported through quantum communication as her team advanced through the alien facility. "It's not just alive, it's intelligent. The walls are trying to absorb us into the biomechanical matrix. We're losing team members to assimilation." The facility's interior defied human understanding of architecture. Corridors shifted and changed, leading invaders in circles or trapping them in organic chambers that began digestion processes. Linda's team had to fight both alien guards and the building itself, using hybrid weapons that could damage living architecture. Nancy Powell worked frantically to hack the facility's biomechanical control systems, trying to open passages for Linda's team while the structure resisted human intrusion. Her neural interfaces burned out one by one as the alien consciousness fought back against her electronic assault. "The facility's central core is directly below us," Nancy reported as her equipment sparked and failed. "But the organic transport systems won't accept human biology. You'll have to cut your way through living tissue for the last 2 kilometers. Linda's team carved a path through the facility's organic infrastructure using weapons that fired concentrated acid and biodisruptors. The alien structure screamed through harmonics that human ears couldn't detect, but their modified equipment registered the distress signals as the building died around them. Tim Rodriguez and Sophie Clark fought through the facility's final defense layer, carrying the fusion devices toward the central core, where the planetary processing systems drew power from Earth's magnetic field. The organic guardians were unlike anything the Resistance had encountered, biomechanical creatures that existed only within the facility's living architecture. "Core chamber in sight," Tim reported as his team fought off creatures that flowed like liquid metal, but struck like hammers. "The processing systems are drawing directly from the planet's molten core. If we detonate here, the energy release will be amplified through every alien installation on Earth." The timing was critical. Surface nuclear strikes had to coordinate with the core detonation to create cascading electromagnetic failure throughout the hegemony network. Peter Hayes counted down the seconds from the Mountain Command bunker, while Linda's team prepared the final devices. "Surface strikes in 60 seconds, Peter announced through the communication network. "All teams report ready. Linda, you have 58 seconds to reach detonation position." Linda Chen and her surviving team members reached the facility's central core as the countdown reached 30 seconds. The chamber pulsed with energy drawn directly from Earth's molten interior, feeding power to hegemony installations across the solar system. The aliens had built their facility around the planet's own magnetic field, making it both incredibly powerful and potentially vulnerable. "Fusion devices armed and positioned," Linda reported as organic defenses tried desperately to stop the human intrusion. "We're reading massive energy buildup from the surface strikes. The electromagnetic cascade should propagate through their entire network." The last 10 seconds felt like hours. Surface nuclear detonations created electromagnetic pulses that raced around the planet, disrupting alien bioneural networks continent by continent. In the Atlantic facility's core, Linda Chen activated the fusion devices that would either save humanity or ensure its final destruction. The fusion devices detonated 30 kilometers below the Atlantic Ocean at exactly 800 hours, March 15, 2090. Linda Chen and her team vanished in a flash of nuclear fire that tore through the alien facility's organic core, like lightning through flesh. The explosion triggered a cascade failure that raced through every biomechanical system, connected to the planetary processing network. Captain Joe Murphy watched from the bridge of the UES Retribution, humanity's last functional warship, as the electromagnetic pulse erupted from the ocean's depths. The wave of disruption spread outward at light speed, washing over every hegemony installation on Earth. For the first time in 2 years, alien biomechanical systems began to fail on a massive scale. Direct hit on the processing facility, reported Lieutenant Commander Grace Turner from the sensor station. Electromagnetic cascade is propagating through their entire network. We're reading system failures across 6 continents. The hegemony fleet in Earth orbit reacted with confusion as their collective consciousness fragmented. Ships that had operated with perfect coordination for millennia suddenly found themselves isolated, their bio-neural links severed by the harmonic disruption. Individual alien minds, cut off from the collective for the first time in their existence, experienced something unknown to their species: fear. Dr. Sophie Clark monitored the cascade effect from the Resistance Command bunker deep in the Appalachian Mountains. Her instruments showed alien biomechanical systems failing worldwide as the electromagnetic pulse interfered with their quantum consciousness network. But the effect was temporary. They had perhaps 6 hours before the aliens restored their connections. All resistance units, this is command, Sophie broadcast on all frequencies. The pulse worked. Alien systems are compromised globally. Execute final phase operations immediately. We have limited time before they recover. Across Earth, human resistance fighters emerged from hiding to attack crippled hegemony forces. The aliens, suddenly cut off from their collective intelligence, fought as confused individuals instead of coordinated units. For the first time since the invasion began, human weapons were killing aliens faster than they could regenerate. Tim Rodriguez led his Los Angeles cell in a desperate assault on the local processing facility. The massive biomechanical structure writhed in apparent agony as its neural networks failed. Alien guards stumbled through corridors like sleepwalkers, their movements erratic without collective coordination. The facility's defenses are down, Tim reported as his team fought through organic corridors that had stopped responding to threats. We're reaching the human holding areas. Estimated 3,000 survivors still alive in the biomechanical pods. But the aliens were already adapting. Hegemony engineers worked frantically to restore their neural networks using backup biomechanical systems that had been shielded from the electromagnetic pulse. The collective consciousness began reasserting control over isolated units, slowly rebuilding the connections that made them invincible. Admiral Ryan Carter, who had survived the initial invasion in a deep space command bunker, coordinated the final human offensive from his hidden base on the moon. Earth's remaining military forces, supported by resistance fighters worldwide, launched simultaneous attacks on every major alien installation while their defenses remained compromised. All units, this is Admiral Carter, he broadcast to the global resistance network. Intelligence indicates the aliens are restoring their neural networks faster than anticipated. We have maybe 4 hours before they regain full combat effectiveness. This is our only chance. Make it count. The battle for Earth's liberation was fought in the wreckage of human civilization. In the ruins of New York, former Wall Street executive turned resistance fighter Alex Rodriguez led a team through the fused glass crater where Manhattan once stood. They fought alien biomechanical soldiers one by one, no longer facing the overwhelming coordination that had made the hegemony invincible. But the most critical battle was happening in orbit. Captain Joe Murphy took the UES Retribution on a suicide run against the alien mothership, the 30-kilometer biomechanical Leviathan that served as the hegemony's primary command vessel. The ship's organic hull rippled with bioluminescent patterns as its neural network struggled to re-establish connection with the fleet. All hands. This is the captain, Joe announced over the ship's communication system. We're going to ram the alien command ship. Our sacrifice will ensure they can never restore full coordination. It's been an honor serving with you all. The Retribution's crew of 800 volunteers had known this was a one-way mission. They were Earth's last military unit, the final representatives of human naval tradition. As they approached the massive alien vessel, they sang the old songs and remembered the world they had lost. Nancy Powell worked desperately in the ship's computer core, trying to hack into the alien mothership's biomechanical brain as the Retribution closed to ramming distance. Her neural interfaces burned out one by one as she fought the alien consciousness directly, human creativity against collective intelligence. "I'm in their primary neural matrix," Nancy reported as blood ran from her nose and ears. "Their collective consciousness is trying to rebuild itself through the mothership's core. I can disrupt the restoration process, but it'll kill me." The Retribution struck the alien mothership at full velocity, her human crew screaming defiance as they died. The impact tore through both vessels, human fusion reactors exploding inside organic corridors. But the real damage came from Nancy's final hack, a virus of pure human chaos that spread through the alien neural network like cancer. Across Earth's orbit, hegemony vessels began crashing to the planet's surface as their biomechanical systems failed permanently. The collective consciousness that had conquered hundreds of worlds shattered like glass, each individual alien mind suddenly alone for the first time in millennia. On the surface, resistance fighters watched alien installations collapse as their organic architecture lost the neural coordination needed to maintain structural integrity. The processing facilities that had devoured millions of humans simply dissolved, their biomechanical components unable to function without collective guidance. Maria Gonzalez stood in the ruins of Miami, watching the massive alien complex that had dominated the city's skyline melt into organic sludge. Around her, human survivors emerged from hiding places they had occupied for 2 years, blinking in sunlight they thought they would never see again. "The nightmare is over," she whispered, then repeated it louder for the growing crowd of survivors. "The nightmare is over. We won. Humanity won. Not all the aliens died. Several hegemony ships managed to escape Earth's solar system, their crews forever traumatized by the experience of individual consciousness. They carried with them the memory of a species that had done the impossible. United without collective consciousness, fought without shared intelligence, and won through sheer determination and creativity." 5 years after Liberation Day, Admiral Grace Turner stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Space Station, humanity's first post-war construction project. Earth was healing slowly, its cities rebuilding with hybrid human-alien technology that the Resistance had learned to use. The planet's population had grown from 50 million survivors to nearly 200 million as colonies returned from hiding throughout the solar system. The memorial wall in New Geneva's Central Plaza bore the names of every human who had died fighting the hegemony. At its center, carved in stone that would outlast civilizations, were the words that had become humanity's new motto. "Their first shot scorched our cities. Our last shot freed our worlds." Dr. Amanda Cole, now Earth's Minister of Xenobiology, studied reports from deep space monitoring stations that had been rebuilt stronger than before. Humanity was preparing for the possibility that other aliens might come, drawn by the radio signals of Earth's recovery, or simply following the same expansion patterns as the hegemony. "We learned something important during the war," Amanda told the Planetary Council during their weekly meeting. "Individual consciousness isn't a weakness. It's humanity's greatest strength. We can coordinate like a collective when needed, but we can also think as individuals when the collective fails. That's why we survived when other species didn't." Earth's new defense fleet was built from hybrid technology that combined human engineering with captured hegemony biomechanics. The ships looked organic but thought human, crewed by veterans who had learned to fight impossible odds and win through determination. They patrolled the outer system, watching for threats that might emerge from the galactic darkness. Captain Emma Scott, now commander of the Deep Space Patrol ship UES Phoenix, transmitted humanity's new message to the stars. "This is Earth calling. We are not prey. We are not victims. We are humans and we do not surrender. To any species listening, know that we have faced extinction and chosen to fight. We welcome friends and allies. We will defend ourselves against enemies, and we will never again allow our cities to burn without burning yours in return." The message repeated on all frequencies, carried by quantum transmitters that could reach across the galaxy. Humanity had learned that the universe was not empty, not peaceful, and not safe. But they had also learned that with enough determination,